you're rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me. Cause she got a bad little waist, and we tearing down this place. Off the liquor that we chase, Casamigos to the face. Baby, I don't need no space. Coming closer for a taste, and I'll show you how I make everything just fade away. Cause she's like sex, drugs, cocaine, body so insane. Jealous of the clothing that she wears up on that tight frame. All game, no shame.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. We are live somehow. We had a lot of technical issues before the show, but we are live. We are Mr. Van Blamm. How are you, sir?
I am pretty good. How are you doing, Bri?
I can assure you that's never happened before. This is a finely polished program.
Yeah, that's what they all
but not
say.
today. Yeah, right? It's never happened before, I swear.
Yeah.
So, guys, welcome. I'm glad everybody's here. It is Wednesday. We're halfway through the week, so that's positive. So what's going on, sir? It's been quite some time since we talked. Nope, did I lose you, Elliot?
Yeah.
I lost him.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little thingy on my.
Yeah, something's going on with
looks like I'm
StreamYard
back,
today. Yeah, does it give you the little Wi-Fi thing?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, something's going on with
it
StreamYard on
seems
both
to,
our sides.
I don't know, get shaky for like a few seconds at a time.
It's fine. It's weird because I'm watching the live stream. It's not doing it, but it's fine. It's all
interesting.
fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Something's jacked up with StreamYard.
Well, anyway, yeah, I think we last saw each other around late March for Percy's birthday.
Yeah. It was a good time.
That was kind of like my first real ride of the year.
Wish I could say it was mine. I don't even know if I was on the bike before then. But yeah, that was good. It was nice to at least get out and hang out with people. So I guess let's get started. Tell everybody about you. Who are you? What do you do?
Gosh, well, I am a motorcycle / YouTube enthusiast.
There you go.
I love the two things almost equally, and the best thing I could hope for is to just enjoy both simultaneously, and that's what I've managed to do over on my channel.
Awesome. So what do you currently ride?
I have a 2019 Triumph Speed Twin.
That is a beautiful bike. I see that bike and I think to myself, I would do dumb stuff on that bike. That's and you have your distinguished gentleman's ride coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, it's that's right. That's this Sunday. So I'm glad that I have a bike that looks the part.
Nice. Have you done that?
Is this audience familiar with that event?
I don't know. So why don't you tell them about it? It's a good question.
So it is a charity ride where, you sign up and then you have like people can sponsor you and donate on your behalf. And people dress up like to the nines, tweed coats with elbow patches, bow ties, all that stuff. Ride classic or classic looking bikes in group rides, different cities all over the world. And all the money raised goes to benefit the Movember Foundation, which supports like men's health research, specifically mental health and testicular and prostate cancer.
That's awesome. I know I found out about them when I guess $1 Million Bogan did that trip. I think it was on the monkey bike. Was it the monkey bike? I forget what it was. He did a new ride. He did a ride for that. And I can't remember what bike he was on. But yeah, I remember that being a big deal when he did that. Hey, Robert, thanks for joining the channel. I'm sorry. I'm really off. I'm getting some weird delay, too. I apologize.
Oh, me too. I'm like purposely waiting a second or two after each sentence.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, that's fine. once the side chat starts heckling me, it'll be fine.
Yeah, show business, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good cause. I think it's important that they bring awareness to that. I think it's really. I don't think it gets talked about enough, or for that matter, could be talked about enough.
Yeah, and I really respect and appreciate that you are one of the people sort of leading that conversation in this space, in
I
the
try.
online motosphere.
It's not a popular conversation, ironically enough, but you know, what are you gonna do? I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's important, and I think that at some level, well, not at some level, at any level, it's important. Even if 5 people hear it, I think it's important. You know, it's not like you're doing a review where you're going to get thousands of views, but I don't think that matters for that conversation. But that's good. I appreciate that. So, is this the first time you've done that run?
Yeah.
It is. This is just a technical nightmare tonight. Oh boy.
Yeah, if I happen to just sort of stare at you and smile and nod, it's because it dropped while you were asking me a question.
Oh,
that's my
fun.
go-to strategy.
Just stand there and be like this. We're not trying to be riding. We're not trying to be hilarious. Just technical issues beyond our control. Oh, it's so funny. So, what got you into riding?
It was 2014, and I just randomly happened across this photo album. Yeah, Walmart internet. Happened across this photo album online of two guys who rode motorcycles from Seattle to the very northern tip of Alaska. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And a month later, I was at my MSF class.
That's awesome. It's amazing. I think that people either get the bug hard or they just never get it. Like, I don't think you can get into riding casually. I think you have to be all in to really get I feel like a lot of people buy bikes and it's just a status symbol. It sort of sits around.
Right. I mean, it's hard not to go all in on it just because like it's such a commitment of space and of money and of needing to ride to like keep the skills up so that you can keep doing it safely and enjoying it.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people realize the commitment that it is, both financially and, like you said, for your time. I mean, if you're going to ride and be beyond a certain skill set and ride with any sort of passion, you really have to put the time in. Something we definitely lose. Just forget amateur moves. Yes, very much a perishable skill. Amateur moves. He's like our professional heckler. You get used to him after a while. We love him to death, but we just ignore him. No, we don't. That's cool. Yeah, it's what was your first bike when you started riding?
It was a Honda CB 500X.
Nice.
I got it because for some reason at the time I believed it was a good idea to get a brand new bike as my first motorcycle.
Makes sense to me.
And I wanted something that was smallish and sort of adventure-y. So that's what I ended up with. The very first bike I ever wanted was a bike that you have owned, the Kawasaki KLR 650.
I missed that bike. That bike was great.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me. There's so many people I know that you talk to and they're like, well, if I need a highway bike, I need 12,000 cc's, or 12 gazillion cc's, whatever. I'm like, that was a single cylinder bike. I rode that on the highway. I rode the hell out of that bike. And that was a great bike. It's there's not a whole lot to it, but it was a fantastic bike. It's definitely a good bike to to get used to because it sits so high up. I was really intimidated by cruisers for whatever reason. I don't know why. And when I went to the victory demo, I took out a 8-ball, and the guy's like, "What do you ride now?" I said, "A KOR." He's like, "Oh, you'll be fine." He's like, "If you can ride a KOR with it being that high in the air, you'll be fine on a cruiser." And I was surprised because the cruiser felt so much easier to ride than the KOR, but it's just a fantastic ride.
Yeah. Well, you could probably flat foot the KLR, right? You're like 6'8".
Yeah, well, it depends. Some people say I'm 5'11". That's a joke, but yeah. I didn't have a problem flat footing it, but I did feel like I had to really be aware at any sort of stop, because if I wasn't paying attention and the ground wasn't level, it was just enough that you could drop it when by throwing it off the wrong way. But no, it's a good bike. 5'4". See, you guys are mean.
Yeah, I'm
so to fill you in on the
on
joke.
Best day. I feel like.
Okay. Go ahead.
You first.
5'9". No. You said 5'9" on a best day.
Okay, and I feel like I can deal with bikes that are tall and bikes that are heavy, but not bikes that are both tall and heavy. So like dual sports, I'm good. A lowrider S, I'm good, but not a 1250 GS.
That's on my short list. That's one of the bikes I'd love to own someday. I grew up as a big fan of the Long Way Around series, and I saw that and I was like, that's what I want. That's a great bike. Especially that's the nice thing that's the thing that I miss with the KLR is you didn't have to wash it. It was just a bike. You didn't have to worry about chrome. You didn't have to worry about any of that. You just rode it. There's a lot to be said for that. You don't have to care for it or put all the tchotchke stuff on it the way you do with the Harley, which is kind of a pain in the ass. So what's your kind of go-to ride? How do you enjoy riding? You've been everywhere on that bike, it seems like.
I'm always in search of twisty mountain roads. That's just what I enjoy the most. I will literally just spend hours panning around on Google Maps with like the satellite image mode turned on and just look for squiggly lines running through the mountains. And then if I find a good one, I'll just like map a route to it and go explore it. So
I saw you did that when you were in Colorado. That was really cool. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh no, you were good. That was a little lag.
This is going to be we should entitle this episode. No, go ahead. No, it's okay.
Yeah, no, you.
You go ahead. Now, I thought that was really cool because I don't think a lot of people do that. I don't think a lot of people sit and look at a map and say to themselves, wow, this is the road I should be taking. Rather than doing just kind of going where they're going. The Google Maps is really cool. That's how we went through the Catskills. And it was awesome because my wife found this great route through the Catskills, and we just GPS'd it to one point, then the next point, and just kept going down this crazy road.
Bryce's first ever live stream.
Shh, don't tell him.
I mean, it's technically my first ever live stream, so you could call it that.
There you go. After the first one, it's all downhill anyway.
Yeah. But anyways, like I've had people comment on my videos, like saying that they wish that I showed more of the destination that I rode to, like what the little towns that I stop in and stuff. And that, like when I'm riding and filming, that doesn't even occur to me to show that stuff. It's just about the route and the environment I travel through.
I think it's interesting too, because I think that's a lot of people are very interested in seeing what's there. And I always forget that too. I'm always worried about, you think about the ride, but you don't think about the cool places you ate or you stopped at until after the fact. So what would you say was the one of the best rides you've done so far? Oh boy.
I heard. So, what would you say is the
You just make up the rest. It's fine. So what would you say is the best ride you've done this far? Thus far?
probably Beartooth Pass,
Okay.
going from Montana into Wyoming.
Oh, very nice. How was that as a yeah, did you have your current bike then?
Yeah, that was coming up on a year ago, and it didn't even make it through the whole day. I didn't realize that the battery was at the end of its life, and so all this computer stuff was yelling at me on the dash. But it still made it over the pass and back again. But that was a ton. That was a ton of fun. I did not know that a place like that existed in the United States.
That's awesome. That's a really good it's always nice when you find a ride where you're like, yeah, let's do it a few times.
Yeah.
The Catskills were like that for me. I'm really looking forward to going back because I felt that the ride was just so how do I explain it? There was so much to take in that I could have done it a few times just to kind of
hmm
take it all in, if that makes sense. I thought it
Yeah.
was really cool with the videos that you did. I think it was when you were in Colorado, like doing it twice, doing it both ways. So you could do the ride for you and then the ride for YouTube at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that way, so like the first time I'm kind of picking out spots where I can stop to either get the camera out or like send the drone up for a bit or something, and then
Yeah.
come back and stop at them.
I think that's cool. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people are so fixated on the YouTube side of it that they don't ride for themselves, which I think's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we were saying before we jumped in. Like you can't vlog everything.
No. And I think that I feel bad for people that do that because I feel like you start to really miss the reason you rode. So now it just becomes work. And then you're
hmm
like, and you know that with the YouTube channel that you want to put out content, but at the same time you you get really burnt out because everything feels like it's for YouTube.
Right.
And that gets really difficult, I think. So what kind of gear are you using?
Um, like to film or riding gear.
To film, I'm sorry.
So I actually have just been upgrading stuff as of late. I just went up to the GoPro Hero 10
Oh, very nice.
on here, and then the handheld camera stuff was with a Sony A6300,
Okay.
which at this point is probably not even as good of a camera as my cell phone.
Yeah. That's Sony line. That's what I was looking at when I first looked into getting a mirrorless. That Sony line's really potent.
Yeah.
They make a really good system with that, and I love the fact it's so compact. Just part of me still wishes I would have went with that, but I'm an old school Canon guy, so I kind of went with what I knew. I
hmm
was like, oh, do I really want to go to something else? And I'm like, what kind of lens setup do you have?
Kit lens, just run and gun everything. Yeah, I wouldn't describe myself as a like traditionally skilled photographer.
Hmm.
Um, I just kind of it's all I can do to hold the camera level. Um, but
You wouldn't know it looking at your videos. I mean, your videos are tight.
well, thank you.
The I like the fact that when you shoot that I feel like it's a very thought out process. Like your videos don't seem to be all over the place as far as like when you're talking. It feels like you the video start to end feels like it's one cohesive event. I think that's really cool.
Um, well, thank you. I'm glad that you think it appears that way because I guarantee you
It's
it's
only
not
matter what
like
it
that at all
appears
behind the
like.
scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complete chaos in the filming process. Everything you hear me say on camera is like at least the third or fourth attempt to get the words out of my mouth.
I think it's good because you mix in the drone, you mix in the mirrorless, you mix in the GoPro, which I think makes it really interesting. Because that's the thing that I find hard to watch is people that shoot with just a GoPro, especially if they're only using one camera. And a 10-minute video feels like it's 80 minutes long because it's the same view. There's nothing to break it up.
Well, those are the
So I
ones
think
that I would end up opening in a second tab while I'm at work or something.
yeah. I mean, they're cool to listen to, but they're a little bit hard to watch. So what are you using for a drone?
I have the DJI Mavic Air, the original one,
Oh,
which
very
I
nice.
actually just ordered a replacement for that. They just released the Mini 3 Pro, so I just ordered one of those. The Mavic Air is nearing retirement. It's been crashed a couple times. It's served me. It's had a hard life. It deserves some rest at this point.
That Maverick 3, that Mini 3 looks amazing. I had to stop watching reviews because I'm like, I'm just gonna buy one, and I don't want to do that right now.
Well, it's like they're advancing so fast that even the next one down in the range from mine is now better than mine from 4 years ago.
hmm
If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. It's kind of like with photography, right? If you put the money into the glass, the body's just expendable because it moves so quick.
Yeah.
It's I have a Canon RP, and then my work camera is the Canon R6, and I think that there's a 2, maybe 3 year difference between the two of them. It's like night and day. Like
Hmm.
when you shoot with the R6, you're just like, wow, this RP sucks. And it's only 3 years old. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it moves. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's an interesting point about investing in glass to serve you through multiple bodies.
Yeah, because I mean, the thought's always been, at least for me, is that if I go with the Canon L series or their faster primes, I'm always going to have them. The body's going to just evolve to the point where, at least what I've seen in my career, is that the Canon glass, even the Canon glass that I had, gosh, 15 years ago, is still worth a fair amount of money. Where the body that I was using 15 years ago is a paperweight, you couldn't give it away. And it's amazing how fast that technology changes.
Wow.
But it's like anything, right? You can't kind of look at it for that. You have to look at it as being it just is what it is.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I feel like I'm ready to, or I want to move on from the A6300, but at this point, the only way I could possibly justify it, um, like the only way I could beat my cell phone at this point in 2022 is to get like a A7S3 or something,
Yeah.
much higher end like that.
Well, yeah, and it's hard too because I was talking about this at dinner. It's hard, I think, with tech equipment because unless your channel is your full-time job, it's really hard to justify buying a gear. In the beginning, I was kind of like, you start spending money on gear. Now I'm like, no, I don't need that. It's not really going to change my channel much.
Yeah. Um, I do some other media side gigs, and I have my YouTube revenue come through the same LLC. So even
Okay.
though the channel isn't pulling in all that much because it's all under one business, I can write off cameras and stuff. Um,
Yeah, I just did that. It's amazing how different you look at things once you do that.
yeah, I think that's the case. I haven't completed a fiscal year yet doing that, so I'll
Mhm.
do my homework before actually filing
Yeah, no,
anything.
I'm
But
in the same boat, but it's kind of nice to think about it as you could expend it over, 3 or 4 years or whatever the expenditure is, rather than just buying it on your own dime and you're stuck with it. That's a big nut. for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Now, what do you edit with?
Premiere Pro.
Okay. All right. Good. We speak the same language. Good, good, good. You a Mac or a PC guy?
Wait, would that language is what? Swearing and shaking your computer?
I don't know. Bert from Baggers and Brews DeBeard just popped in, and George swears by Final Cut Pro, and I tried to use Final Cut Pro, and I was like ready to throw the computer out the window. I was like, I can't deal with this, and that's how I was with Premiere when I first started learning it at
Mm-hmm.
work. But I think it's like anything. Once you learn it, I don't know I could go anywhere else, whether I love it or hate it. Now I noticed the new update seems to be a lot better. It seems to export a lot faster for whatever reason.
That's interesting. The thing I noticed with the new update is that they took away the tabs at the top. It's now a drop-down menu.
Yeah.
So I was like, how did that make it past the focus group?
That's the thing that bothers me too, is because when you go into the export menu, it looks different too. I found myself kind of scratching my head, like, what the hell do they do? I will say, and I have it on a M1 MacBook, which is my laptop. We still have I think it's an i9 iMac that I use for work. The M1 screams. It's amazing how fast you can edit with that. It's a lot more solid. I feel like it's a lot more stable. But again, it comes to
Mm-hmm.
you haven't updated it yet again. It's it's like anything, right? There's pros and cons to it. Now, do you use
Mm-hmm.
Mac or do you use PC?
I'm on a Mac. I got a 16-inch MacBook Pro right before they added the M1 chip and like
Okay.
all the other improvements and stuff. I had been on like a 7-year-old 13-inch MacBook prior to that, so I got to the point where I pretty much couldn't edit 4K video.
It's amazing with the Macs; they don't die.
Yeah.
I think I have a 2011 MacBook, which is the one that I just replaced with the M1. And I kept saying, this thing still runs. It still runs. And then finally the battery warped. So that whole pad popped up. But I was like, all right, well, now I feel a little better about my purchase. At least now it doesn't work at all. So it's not, but it's
Yeah.
amazing how long they'll run.
I'm still keeping my old 13-inch for as long as I can because the new one won't fit in my saddlebags.
Okay. That's good. So you have a
Right.
road
They're
computer.
pretty small.
Yeah. I was surprised I have the 14-inch and I was surprised how small and thin it is. It's almost ridiculous how little it is compared to the old 13-inch.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. So what
Yeah,
what made you
it's
want
like
to
even smaller than the 13. It's just that the screen takes up more of it.
Yeah. The bezel's smaller, which makes it's kind of weird. It's amazing how small they can make the computer now. The 13-inch is ridiculous. It feels like you have an iPad in your hand. It's so small. It's a really weird experience. So what got you wanting to start a YouTube channel?
I don't know. I guess it was 2015 and moto vlogging was the thing.
All the cool kids are doing it.
You had your Walterifics and your Chase on 2 wheels who were starting to pop off. And I was like, I have a motorcycle. I could do that. And then when I started doing it, I found out that I cared more about the edit than any other part of the process. And so ever since then, I've just shot things for the purpose of having something to edit. And motorcycles just happen to be the most interesting subject matter that I can get in front of a camera.
That seems fair. What do you think? So you're sitting at what, almost 5,000 subscribers, 6,000? Where are you at currently?
Closer to 5 than to 4.
Okay. What would your takeaways be for someone that's starting a YouTube channel? Don't do it.
No, not don't do it. I would say just make what you want. Don't compromise for like for the algorithm, I guess.
Sure.
Like I could probably put out videos a lot more quickly and get a lot more watch time per month if I didn't care about having a polished finished product. Um, but I just can't let a video go until I know there's nothing more I could have done to it.
Okay. Because I know you recently took a break, right? You took what, like about a month off?
I mean, I'm always on a break of some length. I'm coming up to a month-long break that I didn't even realize I was taking.
Hey, it happens.
Oh, amateur moose, great idea.
Yeah, I'm amateur moose. I think I think the moose content is never enough, so you should probably bring that out. No, I think it's good. I think that it's good you take a break. I think a lot of people, at least that I've seen, that they go really hard and then they bottom out because they get burned out, and then they don't ever come back, which sucks.
Yeah, the last thing you want to happen is to get to a point where you don't enjoy your own work, whether it's not enjoying the process or not enjoying the finished product. It's just not worth it, I don't think, especially when our channels are still small.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think that's hard too because you want to enjoy it, and there certainly is a certain level amount of work to it. But then, if it goes to be more work than fun, it's like we were talking about earlier before the show. You don't always want to bring your camera with you. Sometimes you just want to go rip around with the guys.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. I've been dying to know. How did you get the wonderful, the mythical creature that is V Volts? How did you get how'd you get your hands on his bike to take out for a spin?
It was all him. He reached out to me on Instagram.
Such a great dude.
He is. He's the best. Yeah, he reached out to me in early 2020 and asked if I wanted to compare his Triumph Thruxton against my Triumph Speed Twin, since they're essentially the same bike but with different ergonomics. And then a year later, or less than a year later, I got to ride his Lowrider S, which is a bike I still think about that ride all the time. And then just recently, I haven't edited this video yet, but I got to take out his Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled as well, which was a ton of fun.
We met for the first time, I guess, right during the beginning of the lockdown. We met up in York at the Harley plant with Percy, and we went out riding. And I was like, man, you guys are just legit. And Volts is so mellow and such a great dude.
Yeah.
That's really great that he had an opportunity to take his bike out.
Yeah, I appreciate it a lot.
So what was your thoughts on the Lowrider S? I mean, I know that's a very hot bike right now.
I thought it was awesome. That was the first Harley-Davidson I'd ever ridden, and it's still the only Harley-Davidson I've ever ridden. But I was super, super impressed. And it was like the rawness and the character of it is what stood out to me, which made it even funnier when I heard you say that the Milwaukee 8 feels like a Honda compared to the twin cam.
Yeah, it was really weird. I know that in theory the M8s are a better motor, but I feel like it lost a lot of character. The twin cam to me has just such character to it, and it has that vibration, and it kind of feels like it feels like it may borderline fall apart on you at times, and that's the thing that I think that that you lose with some bikes, that the Harleys have that. I don't know. It's just an experience, and I know it's maybe for some people not as refined, But that's the thing that I always liked about it, you know. And this is my first one, so I can't really say, oh, that's how all of them are. But I like that it has that raw kind of feel to it. It has something different to it, and it's very hard for me to explain. But like when I had my Kawasaki Versus, great bike, but it didn't feel, I didn't have that sort of passion to it, for lack of a better word. And that's not the word I'm trying to go with, but it has a uniqueness to it.
Yeah. So having ridden this Lowrider S, that to me was like this super charismatic, just like this fire-breathing dragon. And then to hear you say all that really makes me want to go and ride, you know, something with it. Twin came in, and something with the Evo motor in it. You know, Volts is always telling me that a Sportster 1200 with the Evo motor is, like, in his opinion, one of the most fun Harleys you can ride.
My buddy has a Sportster 1200. I don't know what year it is. It is the Evo, and it has oh gosh, I've only ridden it twice, but I forgot what pipes are on it. But it sounds like it's going to die at any second. It has that classic potato, but so much that it feels like it's going to die. It's like
The potato,
it
yeah.
it has that off cycle pop to it. And because when they started it up at the dealership, because I rode it home with it for them, I'm like, is this thing supposed to run like this? Like every so often, it just sounds like it's going to shut off. But once you get used to it, it has such a great feel to it. I think too the sound of it. I think the sound has a lot to do with it too. It gives it a different. Because what pipes does Volts have on it? Does he have stock pipes on that? I don't remember. Does Volts have stock pipes on his bike?
I just clicked. No, he's got S&S. I have it written somewhere. They're not stock.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes it sound really interesting. It gives it a definite feel. Yeah, I need to ride a Shovelhead. I just don't know anybody that has one. I'm up to riding one though. If you have one, yeah, they his bikes are really sweet. They're always so well taken care of. And Dave's Fat Boys got a great sound to it too. Yep, we're losing you.
So I just looked over at the live stream tab on YouTube, and I saw how embarrassingly low resolution my little window is. And I'm going to move closer to my wireless router in the hopes that makes some improvement.
There you go. The picture's already cleaning up.
Little tour of my apartment here.
See, that's dedication to the craft right there. There you go. Now it's much better.
Is it?
Yeah, it's much better. Yeah.
Oh my God. I had so much lag before that I clicked over to it, and I'm still walking through the kitchen.
Well, that's gonna make it worse too, because you got the two tabs open if you're not plugged in. But
yeah, you're right.
It's all good. So see, now we can restart the interviews.
Yeah. So hi, my name's Elliot. Nice to meet you.
Hey, I'm Brian. Very nice to meet you. And no, it's interesting what you say about it, because that's kind of what I thought. I had a Suzuki Intruder 1500 before I bought the Harley, and I liked it, but I didn't realize how lacking of any sort of soul that it had. It wasn't a real. I don't know. There's something about the Harleys, and I wish I had the words for it, but it almost becomes its own character. It's its own person. It has a very uniqueness to each bike that I think is so cool. And I don't know that the Milwaukee 8s lose that. I just don't think they sound quite the same. You
know. Yeah, I mean, again, that just makes me want to ride one of the older ones and see just how much more character there is.
It's cool. I mean, everyone I've talked to, and I've never ridden anything past. I rode the Evo, but I've never ridden the old bikes. But I've heard the old bikes are fantastic. They have so much character to them.
Yeah,
And that's got to be a lot of fun. So is Volt's going to let you take his bike out again? You should just take it again.
I mean, he probably would if I asked, but I don't know. I'd have to come up with a good idea for a video to justify it.
You want to find out if it's the bike you really want to buy. I need to take it out again. I missed some footage, even though I published it. I want to publish it again.
Yeah.
So, what would be on your short list if you had an opportunity to buy whatever? What would you buy?
Are we talking unlimited budget or my budget?
Let's just talk unlimited budget. Let's talk the budget we all wish we had.
Two things. Yamaha Super Tenere.
Oh, it's a nice bike.
It's the only full-size adventure bike that I can flatfoot. And Triumph Rocket 3.
Oh, would you buy the old one or the new one? The new
one. The new one, yeah. I know the old one's great, but the new one just looks so much better.
It does. I was on the old Rocket 3 in a dealership, and I couldn't believe how big that bike is. That tank feels like it's a dining room table.
Yeah.
It's so huge. I suppose it has to be.
Yeah, but it still runs out pretty quick.
Yeah, wow. You get that much power. You got to have the big engine or the big tank, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting combination of bikes. The Tenere is a really nice bike. I don't think it gets the credit it deserves either.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, it's nobody's going to say it has a lot of character, but it'll go just about anywhere and it'll go forever. Like I mentioned earlier, when I first got into motorcycles, I was interested in the adventure side of things. I wanted to and still want to ride to the northern tip of Alaska. But I sort of
amazing.
Yeah, I've sort of been taking a long detour from that in the 7 years that I've been riding. Went from the adventure side of things into the sport bike side of things, and then into the retro bike side of things. So I'm hoping to pick up something dirt worthy in the next year or so to sort of get back towards that original dream.
Now, would you add that as a second bike, or would you keep that as your primary?
I'd have it as a second. Yeah, I'm not getting rid of the Speed Twin. Yeah, I feel like at this point I'm only adding bikes.
That's fair. That's there's no. I think that adding bikes is a good thing. You can never have too many bikes, and I think that's interesting too. That what you brought up is there really is a bike for everybody, and there's a bike for whatever kind of makes you happy. You can buy a full touring bike, you can buy a full adventure bike, you can buy a mini adventure bike. You can kind of work your way through what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Alaska would be a good trip. I think that would be amazing. That would be now, where would you leave from if you were theoretically doing it?
I'd ride all the way there from DC.
Hell yeah. That would be amazing.
And that's something I would be willing to do on a Tenere. Other bikes, not so much, but I think a Tenere would be a good pick for it.
That would be a great ride. I think that would be a great experience too. It's something something a lot of people haven't done.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't remember who it was. There was somebody that did it on a Sportster that went up by whatever that famous road is through Alaska. I can't remember the name of the road.
That runs all the way north, or
it's the one that the gas it's all dirt. I can't remember what the road is though.
Dalton Highway.
Yes. They rode up with a Sportster and they got to that bar, convenience store, whatever there is. There's sort of like a point that all the riders go to.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their stickers up on the wall outside.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be an amazing adventure. I could see that. Where else would you want to go?
I've never ridden in California before. I feel like that's kind of a I don't know, a place everybody should ride in from what I've seen.
Sure.
And I'd like to ride overseas a bit. I've always wanted to ride on the island of Majorca, off of Spain. I've always wanted to ride around Iceland.
That'd be amazing. Or would you take? So it sounds like you're gonna wind up in the adventure side of the world.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, at least in part. Like I said, I'm not gonna get rid of my Triumph.
Mhm.
I feel like just that's the that's the style of bike that I just love the most, get the most
Sure.
enjoyment out of. Um, but yeah, there's places I want to go that I wouldn't take my Triumph.
Okay. And what is the Triumph like for touring? I mean, do you have a limit? Like, what's your day limit on that bike?
Um, it depends. Because like if I'm touring, I'm trying to ride on roads that are fun for me,
Mhm.
and those are generally not the roads where you're gonna cover a ton of
Cover,
ground
yeah.
in one day. So if I'm having fun, probably 200 to 300 miles in a day is what I do.
Okay.
If I'm just trying to haul ass and get from place to place, I would say between 400 and 500 miles would be my comfortable range.
Okay.
I rode a little over 500 in a day once, and I could not have done it again the next day.
That's fair. Because I mean, you don't even have a windscreen on that, right?
No windscreen. I don't find that to be bothersome. It's just like that bike's a little sporty, so the gearing is a little low. It's making a lot of noise at highway speed. That's I'll say this: the Lowrider S is the only bike I've ever ridden where I wasn't reaching for a seventh gear the entire time.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, that's everyone that I know that has one. My buddy Mike had one until he bought his Road Glide, and that thing was quick. I couldn't get
Hmm.
over how fast it was. He took off on me. We were coming up an on ramp, and he took off, and I was like, all right, I can keep up to a point, but you're gone. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, if I wanted to cover a lot more ground on a highway, I would need a bike where I'm not reaching for seventh gear all day.
Sure. Well, and that's yeah, and that's kind of the issue I think with anything you're going to cover ground with is, my bike is comfortable on long runs, but it's not necessarily a city bike either. It's not to say you couldn't do it,
Hmm.
but it's not light and nimble like the KLR was or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think just about any bike can do just about anything you ask of it, at least for a time. It's just a question of how much you're gonna enjoy
Mhm.
doing it.
Yes, it definitely. Yeah, I guess it depends how motivated you are. You can ride anything if you're motivated enough, but there comes a point where you're like, yeah, like you said, the next day you're like, I don't want to ever do that again.
Yeah, I don't feel any obligation to do any riding that isn't fun.
No, I could see that. So so who do you primarily ride by yourself? Do you ride with others? What makes you happy when you ride?
I primarily ride by myself. I just plan, because a lot of it is like I'm filming a lot of the time, and so I don't want to like make other people stop while I
Sure.
get out and film and stuff, or like turn around and retrace my steps to reshoot something or whatever. And that's because the filming process is part of the fun of riding for me because I love both
Hmm.
things. Um, uh, Usually, I'll ride with. Generally, when I ride with other people, it's because someone invited me to.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that's how I am. Everybody asks me, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna get a Cardo? You don't have a Cena, you don't have a Cardo," and I'm like, I don't talk to anybody when I ride. Like,
Yeah.
even if I ride with my buddy, we just ride. Like, there's no
Hmm.
need to talk to each other. We use old school hand signals, and you get through the day.
Yeah.
I think some of that takes away from the experience. For me, when I ride, I want to get out of my head. I don't want to be having a conversation the whole time.
Hmm. Yeah. I actually just got a Cardo. I used to have a Senna on my old helmet that didn't have the mesh, the radio mesh
Hmm.
feature. Um, and it was over like the last year or so. Every time I met up with people, I met up with Volts and Percy. I met up, whoever else. they'd always be like, "Oh, you got a cardo?" And I'm like, "No." And so then we'd have to go through the ride in silence. So it'll be nice to have, even if I'm not using it very often.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely times like with my buddy who had the sports that was learning the ride. It was great because I could talk to him the whole time and, keep an eye on him. But I guess it's really what makes you happy. Sometimes it's good to be able to talk to people, and other times it's like you said, if you're riding for yourself too, it's kind of nice just to do your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It gets it's less distracting, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I definitely, even when I did have like a scene on my helmet or whatever, I don't listen to anything while I'm riding. I don't listen to
Really?
music or
No music at all? Because that was one of the questions I was going to ask. What's your go-to music genre when you ride? But you don't listen to music.
Yeah, just I also, people think I'm weird for this. I also don't really listen to music in the car either. I generally just like, I don't know. That's the entertainment for me. The traveling is the entertainment.
Okay. I mean, everybody has their thing. I can respect that. It's yeah. I my first bike, trying to think. No, I didn't have a cardo when I rode or anything. So yeah, you kind of forget how isolating that is, and sometimes that's really good just to listen to the motor and just kind of clear your head.
Yeah, especially when you're on a bike that sounds really good.
Absolutely. It's definitely and like you said earlier, it's definitely kind of your preference of what works for you. I know some people like can't ride anywhere without blaring their speakers on their bike, and then other
Mm-hmm.
people that you're just okay riding and just being quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, if I was on like a parallel twin, with an even firing order, I'd probably be listening to audiobooks or something.
Books on tape.
Yeah.
So what so if you had to describe it to others, what's the reason you ride? I mean, if you had that one primary thing, if you had to single it out, what would be the reason that you ride a motorcycle?
I guess it's, man, that question should not be that hard.
And yet it is.
And yet it is. I like how engaging it is, that like every single thing you're doing is a direct input from yourself. I like that the bike is an extension of your own body. Like if you see a car on the road, we have self-driving cars now, right? And if you see a self-driving car, you can't tell from the outside that it's self-driving unless you looked in the driver's seat and saw that there was, nobody in there, or saw that the person in there wasn't doing the driving. You can't see a motorcycle in motion without the person on it. Like, you are part of the mechanics of the steering. You are part of everything that it does and that you're doing while you're on it. And it almost is like having a superpower in that way, that it's an extension of your own body that lets you do something you couldn't otherwise do.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. I always laugh. My wife was always about having a stick shift car. She's like, "Oh, I have a stick shift car, and you're engaged." I'm like, "Nah, both your feet and your hands aren't engaged at the same time. It's a different experience." No, CVOs don't drive themselves, Dallas. You're hearing too much sales pitch.
Also, Dallas, you are like the 50th person to call me a serial killer for not listening to anything while I'm driving. That's like the first thing people say.
Yeah, that's funny. Hey man, if that's what you like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting too what you brought up about it being such a tactile experience, is that I think that's why we have such passion for the vehicles that we ride, because they do become an extension of you. It's like every nuance of that bike, every weird, the good, the bad, the ugly of it. Where every mark came from. It's a very different experience than owning a car.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and it's really, I think it's really hard. I know the first time I did a really big trip, I didn't have a radio, I didn't have anything. My dad said to me, "Well, what did you do for 6 hours?" I'm like, "I rode." Like, there's a lot going on. You don't necessarily need that distraction.
Yeah. Or people ask me like, what do you do if it rains? I get wet.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and that's really I think that's the cool part about riding, is that you're always going to be part of that environment. You're always part of the good, the bad, the ugly. Oh man, calm down, Moose. He's not a Russian bot. We haven't had the Russian bots tonight. Usually in this side chat, it gets flooded by Russian bots at some point, but it's
Yeah,
just been calm.
I don't think they can afford them anymore.
Yeah, well, there's that too. I guess there's a positive to everything, right? That's really cool. Yeah, I think that and I think that's why so many people go so. I mean, I guess broke is the word, but so many people that get so obsessed with the sound of their bike, because it's that you either love the sound of your bike or you hate it. And if you hate it, you're going to figure out any way you can to make it sound the way you want. I know some people that that like that really aggressive, loud, unbaffled pipes, and then there's people that like a quiet bike, and everybody wants it to get to kind of suit their fitting, fit them. And it's I guess the good and bad, especially with the Harley market, is you can do so much to it. You can change it, and these guys, you can really change it to suit your need and your mood.
Yeah. Well, what I want to see more of is valved exhausts on motorcycles, where you hit a remote button and you can change it between being loud and being more sensible. Because like I'm an introvert, but so I don't want to be like making tons of noise, drawing attention to myself out on the road. But I want to, hear and experience the noise of the machine. It would be nice to be able to change that at will.
It's funny you say that, because I had tab performance pipes on my bike, and it was really aggressive and it sounded really cool, especially when you got on it hard. But there were those times where I was riding and I was like, oh, now I'm in sixth gear and I'm just kind of in a groove. It'd be nice to shut that off, and it's always there. And I think that would be really cool. You kind of suit your mood. You could be aggressive when you needed to be, and then especially in traffic, it's nice to be loud and heard.
Yeah.
But there's times, at least for me, owning a touring bike, is that when I'm touring, I can't take loud pipes because it wears me out after a while.
Right.
That constant droning just runs me down.
You need to be able to hear the book on tape.
Yes, exactly. I need to listen to NPR and listen, those cooking recipes and so forth. That'd be interesting. I think, was it Honda? Somebody had come up with a patent that they had bike that you could change the risers. So if you wanted to ride aggressive, the bars would be in a more drop down forward stance and the pegs would come back, but then it would switch to a more like standard traditional upright touring position.
And were you supposed to be able to do that on the fly?
I don't know if you could do it while the bike was moving, but you could pull over and adjust it.
Yeah.
Yes, Corey, that's a good point. That's what earphones are for. But I find that as much as I want to wear earphones, I forget. I'll fully admit that. So it's kind of the give and take, I suppose. Yes, and the sound pressure is definitely wears on you too on a long trip. But it's like anything, right? That's the reason you can customize your bike. It's your bike. You got to fit it to your needs for sure.
I'm thinking about going to a +1 front sprocket on my Triumph just to keep it a little more relaxed on the highway.
That would be nice for sure.
And it's got so much torque down low. I wouldn't feel like I was giving up a lot down there.
Yeah. I mean, I love the look of your bike. Your bike's an awesome looking bike.
Thank you.
I hadn't seen, I don't know that I've seen many in person. I really like the look of it. It's got that, like you said, it's got that very raw motorcycle feel to it.
Yeah, it's like it's like the image that, well, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but it's like the image that flashes into your mind the second someone says the word motorcycle to you.
Yes. And I like the dual headlights too. I think the dual headlights are really cool. It sets it out more. Gives it a much different look.
Yeah. Dallas asks, or Dallas says, Chris asks what kind of helmet I wear.
Yeah, I forgot to post that up.
In most of my videos, you'll see I'm wearing a Shoei RF 1200. I wore that for like 7 years, and then I upgraded, or I thought I was upgrading to a Arai Defiant X, which I did not like, and so I just got a Shoei RF 1400 that I haven't done a video in yet.
Interesting. So what is your initial feedback? Because I have a 1200.
Mhm.
I had an RS. Is it RSFS? I think that's an RFSS or whatever. There's the entry level helmet, and then I have a 1200.
Gotcha.
What's your thoughts to the 14? Because it's kind of where I want to go next.
I think I like the 1200 better. It sounds like the aerodynamics are about the same. The safety is about the same. The noise level is about the same. I'm not really sure what improved on it besides maybe like the airflow channels. The only change that really sticks out to me is that there's now a push button visor release latch, which to me is a downgrade rather than the thumb tab. I kind of wish I'd managed to scoop up a second RF 1200 at the end of the run and have that last me another 7 years rather than get the 1400. But it's, in all those other aspects, it's still great.
Because I know for me, when I went from the entry level RF, that the 1200 has more of a sport bike tuck visor to it, at least to me, where I feel like my head has to be down more. I think it's more to be ridden in a crotch in a crotch rock, so your head's down more. Because I feel like when I look into my normal position, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see what I normally would see, so I was getting the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Rather than the FS or the RF having that little bit wider, at least field to it, or at least the bottom's down lower, for lack of a better word.
That's interesting. I actually had the same problem for the couple months that I was using the Arai Defiant X. It was just blocking too much of my view. I wonder if that just comes down to head shape differences.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a head shape difference. If it's, I've heard people. I think it was Brip Rap that was talking about. She has a 1200 or a 14. I think she was saying the 14 was more pronounced for more being in a tuck, but she rides a sport bike, or at least a naked bike, where she's down a little bit more, because that's the downside, at least for me at 6'1" with my bike, because I can't see the GPS unless I tilt my head down. So it's already, you already don't have enough room to begin with. And then to bring the head up more, you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Now I need the Road Glide with the GPS up higher.
Yeah.
That's really just my excuse to buy a Road Glide, but
sure.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's safety. It's all about safety. So as we wrap up, tell everybody where they can find you, and more importantly, how can they donate to your Distinguished Gentleman Ride?
Let's see. The DGR link. Actually, I can leave both of these links in the
sure, and I'll drop them in the comment as soon as we're done. Perfect.
Yeah. Once we're done, but the channel is Van Blamm with 2 M's. It's one of those situations where that was like my old like Xbox gamer tag that I never thought would become a publicly viewed thing, but whatever. And then the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, I will share a link to donate on my behalf. You could also donate on anybody else's behalf. I'm not doing this to be competitive about it or anything. But it all goes to the Movember Foundation, which is a good cause. And I'm going to be trying to share as much content from that ride as I can. That's happening this Sunday.
That's awesome. Where's the event happening?
I'm doing the one here in DC. I think it starts at Potomac Park. Nice. But they're all over different cities all over the world.
That's really cool.
I actually have a question for you, Bri. Have you ever tried to live stream from a GoPro?
No. I think you can do it to Facebook, but not YouTube. The last time I checked, I haven't tried it because I'm doing the Baggers and Brews ride on Saturday for their channel. There's gonna be a lot of people from the side chat there, and I was curious to see if I could do it. I know you can do it from your phone, but it seems to use a secondary device seems to be limited. And I don't know why that is. And honestly, I haven't tried it recently to find out if they've updated it.
Interesting. Okay.
I
was
feel
thinking
like my GoPro gets so little use anymore. This year, that's my goal this year is to get more bike stuff. I feel like I've been doing so many install stuff that I kind of got away from shooting on the bike, which
I see.
which was a nice break, but now I kind of feel like maybe it's time to mix it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you can go. So Toby's saying you can go live on the GoPro if you go through your phone, but with what app, Toby? I assume you can go to your phone, but the question is, what can you broadcast to? If you do it to YouTube, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool if people could follow at least my DGR ride live.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. We'll see if he gets back to us. But no, that's I think that's awesome that you're doing that. I think it's a great cause. I mean, something we can't speak enough about for sure. See, they will like to pick on me that I have a cardboard bike because they don't see me riding it. So
Oh, I see.
That's what it is. So they don't think I ride a bike. They're I tried to convince them it's just my neighbor's bike because it's only install videos. I never said I rode it. So
Right.
I mean, it's really in how you market your channel. You don't have to ride it to do install videos.
Moose, you asked what kind of van I drive. I used to drive a hand-me-down Toyota Sienna, and I miss it every single day.
Leave it to Moose. He's going to ask that. Yes, I ride a bike, Ken. Come on. People are mean to me.
Actually, Brian, one of the things I've liked about the riding videos of yours that I have seen are that because your bike has like the fairings and the dresser bars and stuff, you have a ton of options for where to mount your GoPro, and you've had some really cool shots in there that I've seen.
Yeah, that is the one. Thank you. The one thing that I love about that bike is as long as you get a I think it's small rig that makes the clamps, they go pretty wide. You can put that GoPro anywhere as long as you're brave enough to put it there. It'll go.
Cool.
And what I'm looking to do, and I have to figure out a way to do, is I want to mic the bike. I really want to get a mic to put on the exhaust and kind of mix that into the sound with an audio recorder.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's a fantastic bike because there is so many places to mount stuff. It really does give you a lot of cool options. I don't ride a Grom that's dressed up as an Ultra, although that's a pretty funny idea. I want to get a Grom that looks like a Road Glide Limited. That'd be fun. You can only hold like a pair of shoes in it, but it'd be really cool. I really want to try a Grom. I'm dumb enough to try it.
I've never ridden one.
It's every time I see that, I was like, that and the is it the Ruckus, the Honda Ruckus that they make?
Ruckus, yeah.
I want to try one of those. There was what was that video? There was a documentary about the guys that rode the 30 whatever the CCs, the 50cc scooters. They rode them across the country. They mapped it out to ride all back roads across the country.
Wow.
I'm like, see, that would be fun. That's got to be insanely difficult, but it'd be fun.
Yeah. I don't know why, but my local Craigslist is just flooded with stretched Ruckuses with like underglow and all this speakers and stuff.
There was I forget where it was. There was a guy that had one and he pulled up and I'm like, there's that part of me that's like looking at him like, that's dumb. And the other part of me is like, I'd buy that. Just buy it around. Problem is you get killed because you're so low to the ground.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. But no, they're cool bikes. And I think there's another one that's out. I can't remember. It's a scooter that was out. I'm trying to think what year it was. It might have been a Honda. I don't know, but there was a scooter that was out that reminded me of Ruckus, but it was super long and it was super low to the ground to the point where it was almost not safe to ride because it was so low. It was like riding a go-kart.
Yeah.
So Toby's saying when he connects the GoPro, at least last summer, to his Note, he thought he had the option to go live on his phone. But are you talking live to YouTube or are you talking live to where? Because I thought at one point you could go to Facebook, but I don't remember the YouTube thing. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Because that actually would be pretty cool, because then you could take people along for the riding experience. I don't know. But that's a really interesting question. I'm going to have to find that out.
He says, yes, YouTube. Oh, that'll be awesome if that works.
No, it would be. I think that would be really cool.
I'll have to, they've already published the map for the ride, so I'll have to go out like a day or two early and do a test stream to make sure I don't lose reception partway through.
Especially too with the if you have a phone or you're in an area, I'm sure DC is, with ultra wide, you could probably get a pretty good quality picture out of it too.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm going to keep an eye on Sunday on your channel to make sure to see if you go live. That'd be pretty cool. It'd be really cool too if you could do audio to it. If you could put out audio, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a test ahead of time. That'll be worth doing.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea too, it brings people along to feel a little bit more engaged, and they certainly would. I think that would help your donations too, because people see you doing it and be like, "Oh, it'd be a great way to donate." You know, that's cool. Well, awesome, sir. I appreciate your time. So, is there any parting words you'd like to leave us with? It's your, what are your parting words? What would you like us to know about you we haven't covered? Besides the fact that you hate moose, because everybody hates moose. So.
I don't hate moose.
You should. I mean, if you don't, at least consider it.
They're like one of my favorite animals. I guess I've been finding that as life has sort of returned to normal, the riding time and also the emptiness of the roads has kind of dried up, and I'm finding myself having to make more of an effort to like find time to ride and to get out early and everything. And I don't know, I guess I would just want to make sure that people don't find their riding time disappearing without realizing it. Just make sure you make time for it.
Yeah, and one thing I would add to that is I've noticed that since everybody's come out of hibernation or whatever we want to call it, nobody looks for motorcycles. I mean, my bike's lit up like a Christmas tree, and it's got some sound to it. And I had two people pull out in front of me in a row. One pulled out and the other car pulled out in front of me. And then the guy's just staring at me as he's pulling out. And I'm like, how? Oh, like, did your brain go on vacation for 2 years? It's almost as though people just have forgotten how to drive a car, how to ride it. It's really weird. Or I guess maybe a lot of people are just kind of frustrated because now they're back out. So it's a return to normalcy, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Because safety's key. I mean, yeah, it's weird, man. It was a good 2 years, though. I remember in the beginning, we were down at the Jersey Shore. I live about an hour from the shore. It was like a zombie apocalypse movie. It was the strangest thing. You're riding down there. My wife's like, "Are we going to get pulled over?" Like, it was weird. Like, because there was nobody out. Like, it almost felt like you shouldn't be outside. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're just driving around. It was a very weird time. The only thing I wish I would have done is I wish I would have rode through New York, because I know Percy rode through DC.
Yeah, I've got a couple of videos in DC and New York during the pandemic, and there were some comments in there from New Yorkers who were just like, I don't even recognize what I'm seeing.
I remember going down. I wish I could remember the road. It's a big highway between here and the Jersey Shore, and you'd come up to a crest in the road, and you couldn't see cars in front of me, and you couldn't see cars behind you. And I was like, it was almost like it was the end of the world. It was very strange.
Yeah,
it's cool that you got that experience. I mean, because you're never going to get it again.
No, not for a long time.
I wish I would have thought enough. I should have did an iron butt. That's when I should have did an iron butt. Could have ripped it.
If people set some insane cannonball run records, during lockdown.
Wasn't it one of the magazines or the some auto magazine that they did some cannonball record? It was like insane.
I forget the exact numbers, but it was sitting at like 29 hours for a long time in like a souped up Mercedes with, radar jammers and the huge fuel cell and everything. And then 6 months into lockdown, somebody got a rental V6 Mustang and beat it by like 2 hours. It's
unbelievable. Yeah, because there was and Windroad Therapy brought it up before. There was a guy that did a lap around New York that was some ridiculous lap, and he live streamed it. They wound up getting arrested for it, of course, but because so that's what we do.
Because he live streamed it.
We do stupid stuff, and then we put on video.
Yeah.
But it was definitely it was a once in a lifetime experience. I mean, that's when we did our 13-day trip. We were walking down the middle of the street in Niagara Falls. It was crazy.
Wow.
We walked. I mean, my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm walking in the middle of the street because I'll never have the opportunity to do it again." It was a very weird time to travel, but we stayed next to the falls for $65 a night. Like, how are you ever going to get a chance to do that again?
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's absolutely crazy. But well, awesome, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. This was a great time.
So we'll put your social medias. I apologize. I've been fighting something all week. I'll put your social medias as soon as we get done in the links in the description so everybody can check out your channel. And I hope we get a chance together to meet up soon and ride.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Season we can get. Yeah. You can try my geezer glides. What you think?
Anytime.
You can get on there, take a nap, watch TV. Satellite dish up. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Elliot. I really do appreciate it. Sorry for the technical issues we got going there in the beginning.
Oh, it happens.
Corey, I better not have that thing that you're going to say that's going to get me flagged for saying it. Damn you, Corey. But it may not be out of the possibilities, unfortunately.
No.
But Elliot, thank you so much. And this summer we have to meet up and ride. That'd be great.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'll let you take my bike out. It'll be tricked out of the 16s on it by then too, so you can rip around and have a blast.
Oh, sweet.
But, it'll be cool. I have the detachable tour pack, so you can pretend it's a street glide too. You can get 2 rides in at once.
Yeah, make 2 separate videos.
2 separate videos. I want to know the difference. You can change the screen or something. But hang around for a minute after in the green room.
Okay.
And guys, thank you so much for turning out. I appreciate it. Denver will be back with us next Wednesday, and I don't know who's live this. I think Baggers and Brews are live tomorrow. Baggers and Brews have their ride on Sunday. If you're not following Baggers and Brews on Instagram, please check it out. I will be there, hopefully, come hell or somewhat high water. I'm hoping I'll be there. And Elliot's we're gonna post the link to Elliot's ride if you'd like to donate to the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, which I think is a great cause for men's mental health. So, guys, I hope you have a safe week, and we will see you next Wednesday. Please be safe, and remember, you're not alone. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.